everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of the MythBusters series, where together with the top-notch industry experts in marketing, I'm debunking the most popular myth. I'm your host. My name is Olga Olifirenko. I'm product marketing lead at Retainly, an all-encompassing customer engagement platform hailing perfectly from Ukraine. And today I'm super excited to introduce my guest to you, who is Petryk, head of PR at MythBusters, an experienced digital marketing manager and PR marketing manager with almost 15, even more than 15 years of experience. Yulia, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, Olga. I am so excited to be here and so thankful to you.
Thank you so much. Are you here in Ukraine right now? I've seen you've been traveling a lot recently.
Yeah, but I'm back. Currently, I'm in Kiev.
That's great. All right, our session promises to be the great one, so let's kick it off.
I
Today we
hope
have
so.
day 428 of the war, and just to start with, I'd like to ask a few questions about how do you feel emotionally, professionally? What are your biggest insights if we look back at the last year?
Comparing to the beginning of the full-scale invasion, I feel like more stable emotionally, but at the same time, I feel more cynical, no matter how sad it may sound. And I think that with time we all have that additional skin grown on our natural skin. And still, I remember once I heard such a quotation that it's not going to be a sprint run, it's going to be a marathon, and we need to be mentally fit, physically fit, to be able to cope with that long distance marathon. That's why I would say that I'm trying to persuade myself that I'm still getting ready for that long run journey to our victory. But I've got so many insights looking back at the years that we've passed in this hell. But I would say that one of the biggest impressions of the recent year and month was even not the professional one, but probably it was not like the my outcome, but the discovery that a lot of people made, that PR have impact, that crisis
Yeah.
communications are in need, and it's some emergency that companies, countries need those experts who can communicate professionally. And sadly, it happens at the times, at the peaks of the biggest crisis, and the war, it's like the worst crisis one can imagine.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Indeed, you shared a lot of insights with us, and I know that you are the person who contributed lots of your own resources, not only professional but time-wise as well, to make the Ukrainian voice heard all around the world. And if we speak about actually MythBusters, the reputable software development company with, if I'm not mistaken, over 30 million users worldwide, I know that you and your team gathered attention for lots of media, especially Western media outlets like SNBC, TechCrunch, VentureBeat, etc., etc. So I'm sure that the audience who joins today would benefit from the session. And you're right that there are lots of public figures, new public figures that appeared within this turbulent period of time that our nation is going through. And lots of people started talking about PR and what is this and how to use it properly and what are the most working techniques, what are the tips and tricks, what are the reaction plans for certain obstacles that are appearing here and there. So I've made a small research you know that, and we've discussed it on our preparation sessions. And I found out that there are three top popular myths. So let's tackle them. And the myth number one is that PR is just media relations. And I know you have lots of interesting examples and world-known public figures that you would like to share.
Yeah, that's a myth that is so popular, and I guess that some PR professionals devote their whole professional lives to debunking it. So public relations doesn't stand for press release. Actually, this is another myth that I came across somewhere on Twitter, that PR is for press release. It's not. It's for public relations. It's not MR, media relations. It's much wider, it's broader. So if we decompose public relations into two parts, that would be public relations. This is a strategic function which is responsible for building mutually beneficial relations between different publics. Publics are the audiences of the business. So there is no set formula which can be applicable to all the businesses. It's different, like the stakeholder map is different, target audience description is different. Thus, peer relations function in the business would be different. Let's say you have a coffee shop in some residential area. Thus, you will have your target audience you sell your coffee to, and you have neighbors whom you also need to build relations with, because you depend a lot on their way how they treat that coffee shop in the residential area, because they may even influence the destiny of your business. This is a very primitive example. Probably I strive for coffee and it came to my mind. And for any type of business it would be different, and sometimes it makes no sense to pay extra efforts and time to get featured on Forbes for a coffee shop. It just doesn't make any sense. But at the same time, it makes absolutely big sense for them to be present in the internal charts of the residents of that residential area, thus to get access to their target audience. So the choice of channels in PR is also different, like in marketing. So I would definitely stress on the note that media relations is not always what you need. Sometimes people think, oh wow, my classmate got featured on Forbes, he's on the list. And you may think, I need that too. But does your business need that? So, do you have access to your target audience through that publication? Sometimes it makes no sense. Let's say you are a producer of some generators or tractor engines. It's very unlikely that Forbes would pay attention unless you make some crazy money. Yeah, this is probably the myth that was partially created due to PR pros who run agencies who are focused on media relations only. But believe me, public relations is the attitude and relations any business would build with their customers and other publics. And Google reviews are also something that impact someone's perception of the business, or some forum discussions regarding some brand, company, startup, product. It's also part of public relations. So it's so customizable to the needs of business. So no, 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 it's not just media relations.
Thank you so much for such a great answer. And here I have the question, but you already partially started answering it regarding the forums and like Google reviews, etc., etc. So the question goes, how do non-media related PR activities such as community engagement and influencer partnership contribute to brands' overall PR strategy?
Again, we need to step back and analyze and describe our target audience. What is the core public we are trying to reach? Whom are we trying to target, and whose attention we are looking for? And if your target audience is present on forums, if they spend their time there, it makes sense to go there and be present on a forum rather than spend so much time on being featured in media. For example, we as producers of software developers for Mac Apple ecosystem. Once we were attending a conference for tech administrators who set up the infrastructure for Apple computers in enterprises, and we asked them whether they read some news, some media outlets. They hardly named any two, three maximum. The rest of time they were referring to a Slack channel, which is focused on Mac administrators community. So it counts more than 20K participants, and this is where their live professional discussions
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, and this is where a good PR person, it can be actually a PR person, a community manager, no matter how you call it, but still it has some role of PR, of that relationship building. For example, recently I heard one of my colleagues attended a conference, a professional one in Tokyo, Japan, for it was called DevRel. I said, "What's DevRel?" And she said, "Developer relations." And I said, "Oh wow, this can also be a part of a big public relations team, because one of the key audiences that business is eager to build relations with is engineers, developers, whom they're gonna hire." So, like with the case with that Slack channel, always look where your audience is. And the same is with podcasts, newsletters, or influencers. It means that if you are chasing some certain type of audience, you need to follow their interests, not just think how you may imagine their interests and likes.
So instead of creating a new space for your audience, just go where they actually sit, right?
Yeah,
And
at
build
least at the very
relations.
yeah, at least at the very beginning, it makes more sense rather than try to build something new on scratch. In PR, there is a term before you speak. Like everybody thinks that PR people speak a lot, and this is what they are paid for. I teach my students is listen first. So listening, talking to your target audience. You see a lot of resemblance with marketing jobs, but still it's something you need to understand, that you first listen, absorb all the information you find, some insights, user interviews, and then you are following your community, your audience.
That's the great piece of advice. Thank you so much. Um, just finishing or wrapping up, talking about this myth specifically, I would like to touch base upon the Ukrainian state. So, how do you think has the war impacted the traditional media relations and the approach to PR in Ukraine? And if you see some new opportunities, what are they?
What a good question. As I have my main focus and my main expertise is with Western media, what I see is that the tone of voice has changed. I'm not comparing the tone of voice of the beginning of the invasion. I'm talking about like a decade perspective. So before, no one even tried to hear what that Eastern European country would love to articulate. So we were, like Ukraine was perceived as a younger brother of Russia. But now it seems like the whole world acknowledges the sovereignty of Ukraine being an independent country body and lawmaker, decision maker, and it's absolutely different. And I've read a recent research talking about PR in broader meaning about reputation, that reputation is a live substance that PR people take care of. They just grow, promote, enhance, build, cherish, nurture reputation. The same goes to countries. Countries also can evolve their reputation. So Ukraine's reputation has grown immensely thanks to our incredible people. And this is why Ukraine is mapped finally on the international map, world map. And this actually changes a lot of approaches. I see there is, you may also agree that there is no a question where what's Ukraine, where is that? But in terms of international media dealing with Ukraine, yeah, like they have interest and they have dedicated stories to the situation, the current situation regarding the invasion. But unfortunately, and it's very human, the interest is getting low. Everybody is getting
Yeah.
accustomed to the war, but it's unbelievable. We are losing people daily and hourly, and this is actually one of the tasks of the PR army, not to let the world forget about what's going on in the center of Europe.
And here, let's briefly touch the PR army itself, because I know that you are the creator of a nonprofit organization in Ukraine. The main target goal is to fight Russian propaganda, and I know that it appeared almost the very first day when the war started. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I'm one of the co-founders. It all started from one of the closed communities, by the way. Communities, yeah, follow your
Yeah.
community. And during the first hours of the invasion, under attacks, bombs, and explosions, PR army was created. Someone came up to that chat, the community chat, and share the idea. We all have a network. It's a chat of professional PR, global PR students I trained. We all have a network of international reporters. Let's talk to them. Let's explain what we are witnessing, what's going on. And I'm so proud of our great, friendly, professional PR community that even in times of the harshest events in their life, they demonstrated fantastic resilience and adaptability that you may remember those crazy, horrific hours of that morning when everybody was, yeah, like looking for some gas to buy, some food to find. And still, this was the time, this was the context for PR army creation. And at the very beginning, we were like a bridge between international reporters and Ukraine. We provided access to eyewitnesses of some events, to Ukrainian experts, to Ukrainian commentators. And of course, like with time, our structure got more. Got hardened and got more, I would say, mature. But from the very beginning, we worked very chaotically, but we helped a lot because we helped even do some jobs of Ukrainian officials, as we helped a lot with the professional commentators that could comment on certain topics. And I would love to sum it up. But you mentioned that we are trying to fight with Russian propaganda, and there is no way of a better fighting with it, uh, but giving access to truth. So in our case, we gave access to real eyewitnesses who were witnessing sometimes unbelievable, cruel events in their life, but they were like available firsthand. And this what PR Army did and still does.
Thank you so much. I remember the chat. I was also a part of it, and I was extremely shocked. And in all that chaos, I was trying to understand how can any person contribute when we have the nightmare behind our windows. So I'm very thankful that you've made it possible, and I know that the organization is well known around the world right now. We're getting some first questions in our comments, and people are asking about digital assets, PR assets, and they're asking what's about Kanye, Boris, and Elon because they've seen the creative we posted yesterday. Would you mind sharing how those three stunning figures appeared on our agenda under this myth, please?
Oh yeah, that's a visual storytelling how it works. Yeah, all of them are characters, so well-known characters that everybody knows and recognizes. That are great illustrations to the definition and to the notion of reputation. I will take examples of each of them, and you will understand, our listeners will understand better how they are all referring to the reputation. So, as I already mentioned, reputation is the asset that helps businesses get higher valuation. Reputation is something that helps to sell your products and services, and reputation is vital. And this is a task of your PR team to take care of reputation. It has like no wonder it has some elements that make the whole idea of the reputation. It's pretty simple. It's the algorithm how it works, and PR team should take care of it. So taking all those guys as an example, for example, Elon Musk, at the beginning of the full scale invasion, he was a huge, I would say, icon, yeah, of adoration in Ukraine, because he provided Starlinks to the front line. It helped a lot to get connected to our military, to our army, with the commanders, and everything was digitalized thanks to Elon. But now the reputation of Elon Musk has worsened. I don't know exact figures, but you see that with the acquisition of Twitter, his reputation is drastically falling down. And this is would be so obvious on the surveys, on the analysis of the reputation and attitude to Elon once he's innovator and tech icon, and now he's like a pro-Kremlin mouthpiece, that he's so disrespected in so many ways. So what he's doing in Twitter, he's being massively criticized, and this is like whoo, like falling down. The same with Kanye West. He was one of the influencers with the $1 million contracts with Adidas. And after his inappropriate behavior and unethical narratives he spread, they canceled all the agreements with him. He is not the ambassador anymore, and you know what? The guy got kicked off from the list of the richest because I don't remember the exact sum, but if I'm not mistaken, he lost $40 million.
Wow.
But just because of his unethical behavior, and it caused the uh, drop down of his reputation, and the brand, the PR team understand that, and it will give additional shadow misperception for the brand itself, and nobody needs it. And with Boris, this is one of my favorite example, and it's another illustration about reputation, is that your PR team, your PR managers should take into account where the business's reputation center is, because it has some. mm it has some center, either geographical or some descriptive professional center, but you should pay attention to those members of that reputation center that matter to your business. Let's take Boris Johnson. In Ukraine, he was so much loved. When he came to Ukraine, people spread those memes saying that Boris Johnson had that kind of vibe of the boyfriend when you got sick and you say, "Don't come, I'm sick," and he still comes and bring
It still
flowers,
counts.
lemon. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Boris Johnson, like, is crush in Ukraine. So like people devoted like cookies, yeah, like cakes named on after Boris Johnson and his known haircut. But in Great Britain, where his reputation center is, he is not he just got the opposite reputation. Each British woman, man I talked to, they were shocked that he is so much loved in Ukraine. He is severely harshly criticized in Britain. This is actually the illustration how brands depend on reputation, and that the reputation is an asset every living being has on earth.
So if you want popular bands create songs about you, you should double check if they sit in the center of your PR activities. Yeah,
Uh,
because we have several songs about Boris, other than just cookies. He is really a crush for our nation, and it's so exciting to know that there is an like other side of the coin, but it is so sad. And um, I would like to know if his PR team is doing some tweaks in the strategy to make sure that he is perceived properly in the homeland as well.
Yeah, if he is a candidate for the election in the next elections in Ukraine, he has very high chances to get elected as the president, unlike in his native country.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd like to point out that we're going to provide nice branded gifts for the most exciting questions at the end of the session. So please be active and put your questions into the comment box, and we'll make sure Yulia will answer those. All right, so let's head to the next myth. Number 2, the PR is only for large enterprises. I know you like it, right? And you want to cover it as well.
Yeah, like sometimes people call it PR, but sometimes it's not called that way, but it's still present. Even your post on social media may lead to such consequences as with Kanye West and his cancellation of all the advertising agreements and contracts. So PR component is present, as I said, those examples, yeah, with the public people, even I don't know, like places have some PR component, like the way you treat some restaurant. Like once you got food poison there, you would never go there back again. So it's the part of PR spy, and this is where PR should come into action. and take care and prevent that it would happen one day. And as we already mentioned, those examples with a coffee shop in the residential area, it's not a big business, it's not an enterprise, it's not getting on the high profile media, but still it needs some PR in terms which relations they have built with neighbors, which relations they have built with the customers, and a number of other a number of other examples how it's applied to even smaller businesses. You may think of a lot of cases with that cancel culture approach when some brand was not very, didn't think properly about the consequences of some communication. And something can be done out of wish to somehow cause appetite, but in many cases that happens because like CEOs, the founders are not properly trained, or the staff is not properly trained, or social media manager is not properly trained. This is all a part of PR job. That's why like getting back to our first myth about media relations, we know that it's not. And that's
Yeah.
why for example, even your employees are a part of public relations team in some way. And if they are not well prepared, they may either they can cause problems, but they can be either your ambassadors, yeah, like making everybody fall in love with the company and their products, and at the same time they can cause a lot of trouble. I remember a case of the notorious brand everybody knows, it's Apple. So they hired a senior level manager who wrote a book probably 5 years before he was employed. And his book was about his journey in tech, so how he find himself in a tech world, how he built his career. And people say, I didn't read that book, but it was a lot of comments on Twitter. People said that he was um, not very friendly to his female colleagues. So everybody accused him of being sexist in tech sphere, like what he described, and that he was sexist and racist because his manager used to be an Asian woman, and he mentioned that. So there was a wave of hate, even to the book that was written 5 years ago before he was employed. And Apple fired him because the like reason for firing was not meeting the values of the company, because they understood that the backlash of the reaction of the audience is so negative that they are uh, dealing with the crisis, which was so unexpected and uncontrolled, that for them it was easier to fire that guy. And it was like the shortest period of employment in their history. If I'm not mistaken, he stayed as an Apple employee for several hours.
Wow.
This story.
Thanks for sharing such a great and insightful story. And we know that Apple and other big brands, they are huge and they can afford paying for their mistakes and for their PR mistakes as well. But what about small businesses? You've already started answering these questions even before it appeared on the screen. But what's your opinion on how can small businesses and startups effectively leverage PR to build their brand and increase their visibility without huge budgets?
Mm-hmm.
Not all companies have budgets like Apple, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do understand that. But first of all, it should be in-house, that the culture that it's like spread around is formed still from within. And it's like the attitude to the product you are building. It should be of proper quality, because when you are a small company, and it usually works with media, it's so often when you don't have a second chance. You have just one chance to get into reporters' inbox. You have like one, two, three chances. But I guess people are in a rush these days. Like, okay, like a person downloaded your app, and it takes like several minutes to for the person to decide whether it's like the product that they're gonna use or not. Like once you build that critical team of supporters from employees, from your customers, it's easier, yeah, to get like more um credibility, and to get like the army of supporters whom you may ask to recommend you someone. You can ask for certain tips, and for positive reviews. And this works like that. PR is never about immediate results. Sometimes it takes years to build. For example, in PR, when we talk about impacting the behavior, the minimum pace of measurement should be 1 year, like up to 12 months. But when we talk about some visibility branded one, I always recommend partner with some big brothers. If you can be a part of a bigger story, do that. If you can partner with someone who is relevant to your target audience, yeah, but you know that it's a very relevant partnership, do that. A lot of I see that a lot of startups say like, hey, we'd love to start our own podcast, or like our own blog. I said, like, go somewhere where that audience already is, and try play with them with what you want suggest, like test it, and then you will see if that works. And in PR, talking about media relations, there is such an approach. It's like a professional term which is called news jacking. It's derived from the term like jet jacking, when you are carjacking, when you are kicking off the driver and steal the car. And this is about stealing the news. When some big news is happening, you can steal the news and see what you can suggest on the topic. Let's say you are artificial intelligence engineer or AI startup, and you saw that boom of chat gpt and all the products in the ecosystem. And usually reporters are looking for those stories, and they even place a special hashtag. It's called haro, HARO, looking for someone to comment on the story. And you can use Jack. You can give some content which is related to your product, but which would like demonstrate some opposite thought, or some controversial opinion on that. So newsjacking can be also a thing. And what is easier to do from the very beginning is to make your CEO or the part of the team public. And when they grow their social capital, it's getting easier and easier. Like reporters would quote them, like people would follow them. And this is like the reputational asset that may also be beneficial for your business.
Thank you. Now I have the new word newsjacking in my glossary. I used to call it hype, but now I know that there is a specialness or word for it. Can you share this in your practice some success story of how a small business or a startup made significant impact through their PR efforts without like investing huge marketing dollars into their PR strategy?
I would say bad PR is always the case for that. When they have bad publicity, when something happens and all of a sudden everybody is talking about that. For example, recently there was a tragic news from San Francisco. One of the founders of a tech startup got stabbed and killed in the streets of San Francisco, and his name wasn't known for a while because he was building startup, and ever since that case, that urgency happened, all the Google search results were with that case, and mentioned that the guy was the founder of that startup, and that startup was highly quoted, but not with the topic they would love to be
Yeah,
associated with. Yeah, so this is actually some examples to show how it works. So it's like it's the fastest way to get some publicity and some attention when you are criticized, but this is like the wrong way to go when something bad happens or you are a part of some negative story. uh, what I would mm, I remember there were some examples on my channel where I stated it. I know some stories from the States, but they have a bit different um, scale of media and different media habits. That was a story of the local producer of the, if I'm not mistaken, juice making stuff, and she was accidentally at the same street fair with a reporter of the local media, and she treated her not knowing that this is like the person that would write a story about her startup, about her juices, and overnight she um, got awakened the next morning famous and
popular,
run
famous.
rich. Yeah, like there is a joke like market share equals mind share. Once you are in minds of people, you can earn their hearts and wallets. And that was the story. If I come up with the other stories, I will definitely give example to you about like some massive stuff. But actually, like international tech events, conferences, professional ones are also designed to that purpose. When you like demonstrate something and then you got attention of the professional community, and it's like multiplied by the attention, by the media coverage, then boom, you have that visibility. But usually I wouldn't recommend anybody to spin around some mass topic. It's gonna be something which is relevant to your target audience. Like, remember that reputational center.
Thank you so much. All right, let's head up to our last myth, which is PR is not measurable. And
Mhm.
here I have the first question. What are the KPIs that organizations should use to measure their success of the PR efforts? What is the time span when those results are visible? And what are like best strategies to make those KPIs corresponding to tangible results?
Yeah, yeah, what a good question. We definitely need more time to talk about it. But when we talk about PR, there is certain framework of evaluating communication. It's called AMEC. It's AMEC. They introduced framework to measure the impact of communication. So the a part of like dealing with reputation, anti-crisis communication, and all the rest that I already enlisted as the part of the PR function. PR is something that, in the long run, has a task to change attitude and change behavior. So, taking into account the level of that behavior changes, PR measures, PR metrics were designed. So, the first part of that framework is inputs, like how many inputs you produced to do that PR campaign, to do that change. So in the first run, it would be a number of posts written, a number of press releases issued, a number of pitches sent. So these are inputs. Then goes outputs. It's something that is very easy to measure. It can be, let's say, a number of visits to your website. It can be a number of downloads. It can be like how many pages were scrolled down till the end. Then we have outtakes. It's like something which is more uh, it's deeper in behavior. For example, comments written, shared, done. So it means that a person didn't just get to your page, but it interacted with it somehow. So it's like deeper level of engagement. And outcomes, the last degree of those of that framework is the impact on business. It can be sales. So PR is the top of the funnel, and when it's like very obvious that it was the PR effort to impact the business, it's the outcome. Usually it's vividly demonstrated on the national campaigns, for example, on promoting the habit of getting vaccines, or quitting smoke, or let's say Dove as a brand is known for fighting with the new standards of beauty, and they do a lot of campaigns with females to show that they're beautiful without makeup, or like that they should take them naturally. And the impact of those stories, of those efforts, would be change in the behavior. So it can be so massive. Why PR agencies are hired for the elections campaign? Because PR is playing with minds of people, and this is like on the big level, yeah, on the huge level. In when we talk about the small businesses, it can be like depending on the goals you are setting from the very beginning, but it can be like a number of sales generated from some article, a number of incoming requests from media when you had the first interaction with media, and then they get back to you and ask for more comments, for more participation in their profile events. It's also an outcome. It's like a change of someone's behavior to get back to you, to remember you, and to get back to you. And like the impact on business is that, like, my favorite part, for example, when you see that your message has landed properly, and people write on the on social media, or in the comments under the article, or left reviews in the Mac App Store. It means that they interacted and they perceive you properly when they say like top app, really love it. And this is like it's not just the KPI of the PR department per se, but it's something that it's also 100% part of their job, to deliver that message to the audience. and like influence their behavior somehow. And the highest level of that framework is impact. How which impact it produced. And like this is I'm given an example like the high standard of the profession, and the impact is how it changed the behavior. Now it's the question of any business to stay sustainable, responsible. And this is where PR comes into play. PR, what I love about it, is a very ethical profession and should be. And this is about impact. For example, when you are not a startup struggling to survive, when you have like more resources, you would definitely work with some with some value you would love to bring to highlight in this society. And this is like the change on the like societal level, national levels. But this is like a separate topic for our
Yeah.
discussion. Yeah, but at least, yeah, to know which efforts caused that awareness, which efforts caused the new relations, how those relations are built. And I'm joking that PR is fueled by love, and sometimes love is difficult to measure, but you should you should find the ways to measure it.
I've heard saying that if you are not measuring, you are just gambling. So I guess,
Nice.
well, first of all, there are lots of KPIs that are shared between marketing per se and the PR activities, of course, and lots of organizations have both departments within one structure, right?
Yeah.
So lots of interactions in between. I'm personally becoming an ambassador of MacPo because I was absolutely stunned with the new phone and font for typing and all the assets created around it. And looking through the comments, there are also fans of MacPo. Um, there is one comment I'd like to go through. MacPom makes so cool social impact projects, like the recent one with the taxi for people with disabilities. Is this also part of the job of the PR team to who is driving those initiatives inside MacPo? And are there any recommendations on how our audience can start driving such initiatives inside their companies?
What a good question, Olga. Thank you for paying attention to that campaign, to that partnership. In our company, we have a separate CSR department who are responsible for running those activities and for like making those partnerships. It happens in a different way. Either the head of it comes up with the idea, or someone is reaching her out and she makes a decision whether it's valid. But in bigger structures, CSR is a part of the PR team. It can be a CSR team, CSR direction, but usually it's under that structure because it influences reputation as well. But it's like such a complex question. It's not like that simple. You should help senior people, and this is it. Like, but now it's already a result of the research that now Ukrainian consumers are very sensitive to the question whether the company itself donates to the Ukrainian army, whether it supports it. And that's why it's not something to be ashamed of to speak about your charity projects publicly. It's not about being shy, it's about transmitting, conveying your messages, your values. If you help some disabled, it means that you are compassionate with them, you are empathetic. So it's something, it's already something that would inspire others and give example to other behaviors. It's also an impact of PR in the long run. Yeah, like when you impact someone's behavior and it is changed. And I would say that now it's it's not that obvious in Ukrainian business because we have like such a big challenge to face. But in the international business, more and more um, requirements to business, even on the legal level. Let's say that equality, it's not that someone wants to hire some percentage of talented men and women equally. It's about even some legal requirements. It's done on purpose just to shift the mindset of
Yeah.
people that it's wrong just to look for male engineers. Like female engineers are also talented and can perform not worse than men. So what I'm trying to say is that it would be like we will face that period, we will face that era when it is required for the business to do some socially valuable projects that it is essential to do. Now it's like now it's believed that the purpose of business is not just earning money, but to improve the society and environment, to make it a better place to live in. So it's already required on the level of consumers perceptions or something. So we can't forget like brands when they don't communicate properly. Yeah, so this is like a higher standard for businesses to deal with it. And it's a matter of your values. If you look on those opportunities, they would never drive your sales, of course. Like that partnership of having wheelchairs in Uklon Taxi, they would never drive you sales directly, but we are gathering screenshots. For example, this is actually how it impacts our reputation. We have that example, and there is a number of them. Once we announced that we are supporting Save Back Alive, Повернись живим, with certain amount of money each month that would be spent on salaries, so that the charity fund wouldn't think about where they can get money for salaries. Like those donations should go directly to what they are raising money for. And we cover, as a company, we cover their monthly needs in salaries each month. Yeah, we are like payment providers to them, salary providers. And there was a comment on Twitter that some guy confessed that he downloaded Clean My Mac illegally and used the hacked version of it. But when he found out that the company is so good in social activities and supports Come Back Alive charity foundation, he said, I went and purchased their software.
That's great. And I'm sure he's not the only one. So here the PR assets and the PR strategies helped a lot conquering bias around equity, around sustainability, and all other things that are very important. And I'm so happy that businesses in Ukraine are becoming benchmarks for smaller businesses to think about things rather than just money. So
Absolutely.
as we are approaching to the end of the session, and I personally wish it never end because it's so interesting to learn it from you. We have one question from Olga Yatsina. Are there tools that you like can recommend to find publications media that have the best reach for my audience?
What is your audience, Olga? I may assume, yeah, it's a marketing tool, yeah. Uh,
It depends, yeah, because we have several capabilities and products within the organization. So if we speak about retailing, then yes, we are targeting mostly marketing audience. However, for the rest of the products, we do target CTOs and like more tech people.
So it really depends where your audience is, but I would definitely go to non-traditional publications and media. For example, I am a big fan of newsletters, or in Ukraine, it can be even a Telegram channel, unexpectedly, but it sometimes it can give you bigger reach. If we talk about Ukrainian audience, bigger reach rather than some media. I always set an example that like TechCrunch, everybody is dreaming of TechCrunch, and it took me 3 years. Can you imagine 3 years to find my way to TechCrunch? Probably it was a lack of experience, but still, it took me 3 years till our product in my Mac was featured on TechCrunch. And in some time, I was reached by one Spanish blogger. I was unaware of his background and his capacities. I was just very polite to him. I really like that interacting with people. I provided him with information codes he asked for. And then he went, this is like how you need to build media relations. He was employed by the biggest Spanish speaking media about Apple. And when we had the day of the release, simultaneously, TechCrunch and that Apple Sfera media covered our story. And you know what? Apple Sfera had 3 times bigger traffic than TechCrunch because it's um, the biggest media, but in terms of general traffic, they are not even compatible. Like TechCrunch is more popular, but because that the media is dedicated only to Apple, TechCrunch is about tech in general, or like investments, VC, everything. But this is like the dedicated one. It's in Spanish. Let's say if a person who is an Apple user gets a habit to read, check the news on the his native website he knows and uses on a daily basis, and people search in Google in their native language. They almost never switch to a foreign language. And this is how we had like a huge spike in the local Spanish speaking media. And my advice is look for accustomed solutions. It's not always like the unique answer, like TechCrunch for everybody. Sometimes I remember on Clubhouse, some guy said, "We were in TechCrunch. We didn't have any tractions after it. Like, what was the point? We didn't get it." That was their mistake, that they didn't communicate it on their side properly, that hey, we are on TechCrunch, like include on sales pitches, everybody everywhere. Yeah, but still, so be more flexible, adaptable to the opportunities which are available on the market, and you'll always find your way to the hearts of your customers.
Thank you so much. I think it's time to wrap up. We don't have any other questions, Yulia. I'm super excited that you've agreed to participate in today's session. That was the first session that lasted for 1 hour, and that is awesome. Thank you so much for all the initiatives that you're driving. My name is Olga Olifirenko. I'm here to illuminate marketing myths one by one. Thank you so much and take care. See you soon.
Thank you.